I've said a lot of stuff on the timeline. We can't, come on. We get to the quarterback 10% of the time. They get to it 4.69% of the time. That ranks like 84th.
They're 89th in the country in tackling. So this is a game where you want to see UW run some outside zone, run the fly sweep like we talked about.
Defensive third down conversion percentage for their defense, 102nd in the country. And again, remember, the best team that they've played is Virginia Tech's offense.
Don't ever say I don't Doog as hard as anybody else.
Let's go. That was very fun. All right, dog fans, before we hop into the show, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, and we appreciate the support. Thanks to our sponsor, Simply Seattle, we'll be picking out one lucky new subscriber to win free Washington Huskies t-shirt and hat. To enter, just subscribe, drop a comment below letting us know that you've done it. You can be out there flexing that new Husky drip, that new Husky swag in no time. Plus, don't forget to check out Simply Seattle's QR code at the bottom of the screen, which will take you directly to their website for all your Washington Husky apparel needs. Good luck. Go Dogs. Thank you for everything.
Welcome to another episode of the Dubbed Up Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Blunt. On today's episode, we're going to be breaking down the Rutgers game now that we're 1-0 in the Big Ten. I got my guys Izzo and Noah with me. Fellas, we have a big game. We're going to be flying to the East Coast for the first time this season. How are we feeling about taking this big trip to Rutgers?
Be fun, man. East Coast trip, Big Ten. Man, it's the first time in Piscataway. I got it right, man. Piscataway. Piscataway, man, since 2017. If you guys remember, man, we played Browning. That was a Browning Gaskin days. But you know, this Rutgers team, it'll be the best team we've played so far, for sure. Man, it should be a fun environment with the blackout, you know, for all the fans, man. That should be a little litty.
Yeah.
Man, make it even more exciting. We're going to be on Fox. You know, we got that Friday night national televised game. Should be exciting. But, you know, looking at this game from a Friday night perspective, you know, everything gets moved up. So, you know, given the guys usually, you know, a Monday off day, they probably got that off day on Sunday. And I think Jed kind of talked about it in his presser too. You know, they condense a lot of things. They're also playing under the lights, which is fun for these guys, man. Everyone grew up on, you know, Friday night lights, playing on Fridays and you know, high school football. So that's good stuff. I mean, Rutgers, man, they're a tough coach, man. Greg Schiano, he's one of the best, you know, coaches in the big. You know, he might not get all the recognition, just kind of, you know, Rutgers not being like a, you know, dominant football, you know, program, but he's a great coach, man. Tough, gritty, grinder type guy. You know, looking at this game, I think UW's a 2.5, 3-point underdog. They're going to need a solid performance to go into New Jersey and get a dub. Probably by far going to need to be the best game they play yet. You know, but let's go get that dub, man. This is Stevie B's. If people don't know, Steve Belichick's he's a Rutgers alum.
Yep.
So
long snapper, baby.
Yeah, that's right. And he's a long snapper, but Schiano had a pretty cool story about him, how he, even when he was just the long snapper, I think for one season, he was like getting ready to be a coach, and he could tell he was like a secondary coach on those teams. So
yeah, it was like, they said he was like a coach, a player coach.
Yeah. So
and you got to be honest, you got to be right too, man. Schiano definitely has the Rutgers playing well. They're 3-0 right now, and they're coming off a really big win against Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Izzo, what are you thinking?
I'm worried about the penalties. I really am. I think, you know, this is the least penalized. I think they're sixth least penalized team in college football, or excuse me, they're the 12th. We are the sixth most penalized team in all of college football, D1 teams. So that's what has me concerned. This is a team in Rutgers that they're physical. They're like the epitome of what a Big Ten team looks like. Big, bruising offensive linemen, strong on defense, run it down your throat, set up the play action, stuff like that. So this is like a little bit of a redemption game as you think about the national championship against Michigan. So yeah, I'm stoked to get into it, but boy, we got to show out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that what you're saying is completely right, especially on the offensive and defensive lines. They're stacked. They're big dudes. And we get to see if the size that we've brought in, because we did talk about how Jed Fish and his staff not only brought in size, but also beefed these guys up. I mean, between spring and fall camp, a lot of these guys gained 10, 15, 20 pounds and went from being smaller guys, especially along the offensive line, to being bigger guys now. So as we look at this Rutgers offense, what do we think that UW's defense is going to have to do to keep them in check? Izzo, I'm going to start with you on this one.
For them on offense, it's like I said, they got these big bruising offensive linemen. It's pretty clear what they're going to try to do. And I think we all agree upon what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to hit you with Munengai and Brown. What I didn't realize was, we heard a lot about Kyle Munengai. They have a stud second running back. I expect they're going to lean on those two. And up to this point, our defense has been pretty lights out. So we just haven't had a test like this. We haven't played. Wazoo's the best game that we've played, best offense that we've played against this far. And Rutgers is totally different, right? They're not. I felt like Wazoo got bailed out by a lot of just, Mateer creating plays. This is not that team. They're going to kind of try to run it at you. I'm going to spit some stats your way about Rutgers offense. Third down conversion percentage. So how well they convert on third down. They're number 11 in the country. Okay. Offensive red zone scoring, they're 71st in the country. They're 71% at red zone scoring, 109th in the country. So they do not convert well in the red zone. They are top 30 for all the categories of the following stats on offense: points per game, yards per game, yards per play, rush attempts per game, rush yards per game, and they commit, like I had said, they're one of the least penalized teams in the entire country. What kind of offense does that kind of sound like in terms of the framework of how a scheme would look for them on offense?
They like to stay in front of the sticks. So in turn, they always want to have short yardage to kind of deal with. That's
right.
The first thing that comes to my mind when I think about that.
I think about running the ball. That's what it makes me think.
Yeah, they run to set up the pass, and because of that, I think a lot of it's very important to win on first down to take them out of their element between the 25s. But when you get them in the red zone, they don't operate very well because it's very apparent what's going to happen. Like, the game plan is really clear. They have two bruising running backs. But I think a part of it is that they don't have the ability to fool you with a play action pass as much. There's less field to deal with. So they just pass the ball less in the red zone. And I think they can't just lean on the run super heavy. Like against the Virginia Tech game, their first touchdown was it was a great play call, but it was this really crafty, the running back hiked it to another running back who handed it behind him to another running back. It was just a bizarre play, and they scampered. It was, on the half-yard line. Yeah. So I just think I think the way that we scheme on defense is we rotate so much that if you're going to, once you get down to the red zone, we can stiffen up because a lot of guys are rested who they can bring in. Because frankly, we have 6 defensive linemen that can come in and play. So Alinius Davis, your Bandis, to be honest, Tupatala, Bruner.
Yep.
Those guys are going to be called upon in this game in a massive way. This is going to be their biggest test against the biggest offensive line that they face.
Same thing with those bigger edges that we have, like Durfee. I don't know if we've heard anything about if Durfee's going to play, but same thing with Lynch and Jaden Wayne and Jacob Lane. Those guys, all those bigger guys are going to, I think, play a lot. But let's focus still on this offense. Noah, we were talking about how run heavy this offense is. Break down a little bit about how this offense works and how run heavy it is compared to the pass.
Yeah, when you look at them, I mean, Izzo hit this. I mean, they want to pound the rock. There's no question, like Izzo said, the run sets up the pass. And I think you look at, Kaliak Manis, he can pass the ball, but they really want to put that off of a play action. I think Izzo nail on the head in the red zone as, all those windows get tighter, so you have to be a more elite quarterback. So I think Shiano knows that, right? And so I think that's why you see on the season they have 142 rushes just to 72 passes. And as you look early on, in some of their games, I was like, oh, is that just because of who they were playing? But if you look at that close game they had versus Virginia Tech, you still saw a 2-to-1, run to pass ratio there. So they almost always want to run. Here's another little feature I saw. They almost always want to run out of 11 personnel. They always have a tight end in a 2-point stance. He's not right on the line of scrimmage. He's kind of like a little bit off the line of scrimmage.
Like H-back almost.
Almost, yeah. I mean, he's right off the hip of the tackle. But I was watching a couple of their games, especially the VTech game. I don't think I saw one non-run out of the 11 personnel. Every single time was 11 personnel. Just kind of something kind of interesting. But yeah, man, I mean, their running back duo, man, Kyle Monungai, they got this Samuel Brown kid, dude. They're both tough. And this two combo, it might be as tough as we see all year. Michigan's got some dudes too. But man, Monungai, he averages 5.5 yards a clip, and Brown averages 4+. But I want to make sure you guys see this during the game. This Monungai kid, he has this jump cut that if you aren't ready for it, man, he will absolutely pierce you, and he'll get up and go. I don't know what his like top end speed is, but his like in the box burst speed, I mean, it's special.
Izzo, you have anything else you want to break down as far as?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I want to emphasize this point because I kind of brushed past it. But another statistic that they rank very well in is yards per pass completed. So what that tells you is that to this point, they haven't played Virginia Tech has a decent defense, but to this point, they haven't played like other challenging defenses. Neither have we. But what I'm getting at is they do a good job of creating the pass plays in between the 25s. Like they do set it up well. And the way that they do it is they hide the play action really well. So this is going to be really important for Bruner. It's a good thing we have such experienced linebackers because Bruner and Tuputala are going to have eye discipline.
They do a lot of things off of that triple option type look where they can either hand the ball, run it himself, or throw it. And they're just going to have to make sure they stay on top of it. What I'm really curious to see what happens is if we can slow them down and get them into some 3rd and longs or even 2nd and longs.
Yes.
How is that big, slow offensive line going to do against our NASCAR package?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Kamori House coming off the edge, Bruner coming up the middle with Tuputala, like they're not going to be able to block those guys. And we could see our defense force a lot of turnovers if they can get those stops on 1st and 2nd.
Yeah. Like Jed said it, I think it was 2 weeks ago that they emphasized, actually, I think it was after Northwestern, that they emphasized winning on 1st down. And that is, if you want to take them out of their game plan, it's going to be getting them into 3rd and long situations. Like that's how you win this game and hold them under 21 points.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I mean, that's spot on though too, because everyone knows this, but I'll say it anyways, right? You go 3rd and long, your little play action fake doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So being able to do that, I think is, dude, Mike, that's a spot on thing because you're not gonna shut down Monungai and Samuel Brown probably the whole game, but if you can shut them enough down early on, it takes them completely out of this play action RPO type game you're talking about, Mike. And I think that is really how UW will be able to win this game. But this offensive line is big, man, and they are absolutely dude, they're fierce. I mean, I think when you look at their PFF grades, every single one of their 5 offensive linemen grades out in the top 5 in the country. Now, some people could say, "Oh, that's kind of a weird stat." PFF, is this really like one of the most elite offensive lines in the country? Because you don't hear about them this way. But one of the big ways I think that we can really kind of attack this offensive line. What about bringing in our little old school heavy front, 3 defensive linemen like we used to see with like Elijah Qualls, Vita Vea. Back in the day, man, we used to run this heavy 3 defensive line front all the time. And I think you'll see that this week. I think you see some 3D line packages with your 2 outside linebackers. You saw it a little bit against Northwestern, and once again, them not having Cam Porter, it wasn't as significant as a run game. But if you can shut them down early on and often, I think that completely kills, like I said, their whole secondary piece of this game. The other thought process on this really quick is if we can get our 5, 6, 7 in the box Do you think we have the secondary that's good enough on the back end to like shut down this passing game and discipline enough? Because I think this is a game where you're going to see Dixon and Prysock and EJ, all those guys when they're in the game. You might end up putting those guys on an island to say, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you guys to shut these boys down, and we're gonna take care of business up front with."
I've been
our
begging for that, to be honest with you. I think like we went into the season talking about how the secondary, especially at corners, where we seem to be the strongest and the deepest. Yo, let them guys out on an island and start firing missiles at this quarterback, because it does play into what we need to do. Because you said it's two facet, from the defense getting those stops early and then our offense scoring. And before we move into the offense, what I do want to point out is, the first two games they played were against, I think, Howard and Akron is what I think it was. I think those were their first two games of the season. And, their offensive line did great. But against Virginia Tech, they gave up 3 sacks. You know what I'm saying? So it might be a little bit of a fugazi as we move forward, because we'll see it. And then to move into the offense, kind of what we're talking about is if we can get those stops and we force them to have to throw because they're behind, then Monangai can't get going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They this was actually surprising to me that UW is top 15 in sack percentage this year. Did you guys know that?
I didn't.
According to teamrankings.com. I mean, that was like I think a little bit of a concern for me was edge depth this year, and we're getting pressure.
Yeah, I
We
wonder.
really are.
I wonder. Do you think that has anything to do with the amount like we bring pressure? So remember, after one game, I think we were looking at like 44-45% of the time we bring pressure. Does that? I wonder how that plays into that stat. 'Cause that's, I mean, dude, I don't really care if we're getting pressure that often. We're number 11 in the country. It's absolutely beautiful. But I wonder what all is entailed in that.
I
Because
think the NASCAR package and how much we use it, it
Yeah.
has a huge. I noticed every single third down, as long as it's more than like 6 or 7 yards, we're playing all linebackers and edges on the field, and we haven't really got gashed in the run, except for maybe against Mateer once or twice.
Yeah. And it's hard to judge that game because the guy has burners.
Well, and
So-
also so many penalties let them continue drives where if we just don't grab a face mask, a bunch of those drives in, and we're probably talking about a UW win.
Yeah.
So
Izzo, would you agree though that Shiana's a coach, and I looks like this team, this Rutgers team, they're going to stick to their game plan until you take
Yes.
them out of it.
Yeah. You can tell. Like, they do not. If I was him, I would not shift. Like, you've committed to being this type of team. That's how your entire roster is built on the offensive side. They don't have the guys to like cause huge problems for our secondary, in my opinion. So they're going to get some plays that are open. Like, it's not, you're not going to get 0 yards passing, like, or 0 explosives in their pass game. But if you want to go that route, go for it. But yes, the short answer is yes. He's not going to change it up.
yeah, I wouldn't either, because they've been successful, but I kind of think we might be built for this team. So let's look at the UW offense and what we're gonna have to do against the Rutgers defense to be successful. Izzo, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, I'm going to keep with the stats trend here because I think it's important. I'm gonna lay out just some interesting statistical like anomalies for them. Defensive third down conversion percentage for their defense, 102nd in the country. And again, remember, the best team that they've played is Virginia Tech's offense. Okay.
Are you saying that they're the 102nd, like they're one of the worst, or people are bad
Yes,
against
one of the
them?
worst.
Okay,
One of the
okay.
worst at stopping teams on third down in the
Okay.
country. Opposing rush yards. This is surprising for a Big Ten team. Opposing rush yards per carry, 6.5. That's 128th out of like 133 teams.
Jonah Coleman.
Yeah. Opposing rush yards per game, 170, right? We touched on that. They give up the run quite a bit. Sack percentage, they don't get to the quarterback often. We get to the quarterback 10% of the time. They get to it 4.69% of the time. That ranks 84th. Opposing pass.
Hey, and what did we talk about when you keep Will Rogers upright too?
Yeah.
Dude, he gets hot and he starts rolling, man. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
if you can give him just enough time, dude, he will pick apart a lot of defenses in this country, man.
Crazy how that stat really puts that into perspective.
Yeah.
Good one, Izzo. Good
Hey,
one.
you gotta go this route. This is like what we were talking about. I know Noah wanted to say this too, and I did as well, which is that this is like a really big scheme on scheme type of situation. Like if we start scoring the ball, like scoring often, if we can come out and score early, God forbid, on the first drive, like come on. This we can run away with it, or we can play to them, and then we're committing penalties, and it's a 21-19 game and stuff like that, and that's what we don't want to be in. Opposing yards per pass, 4.7. Okay, that's a great stat for them. They don't give up the deep ball a lot. I wonder how many times teams are going deep on them, but they do pretty well at getting rid of the deep ball. Opposing completion percentage is number 7 in the country at 49.18%. I take this with a grain of salt. If you're not getting pressure on Will Rogers, he's going to complete passes, to Noah's point, and to your point, Mike. So I gotta think this has something to do with the teams that they've played. Takeaways. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you look at even their best quarterback they played was Virginia Tech, and his name's Drones. Drones literally has 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions with a 59% completion percentage.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, if that's the best quarterback you've played, and then you played Howard and Akron.
Yeah.
So I think you're right there.
Takeaways per game. They turn the ball over 2. We got big, strong, big dudes tackling ball carriers. That's not super surprising, but again, this one I am, this one I am a little bit worried about, because Virginia Tech is a physical football team. Like, so if they're getting, if they're able to punch the ball out, there's a play that I remember in their Virginia Tech game where one of their guys hawked a dude down, and it looked like he was about to trip the ball. The runner was lucky that he held on to it, and the guy chased him down for like 25 yards. So what that tells us about their defense, teams have success on the ground against them. Okay, it's not the deep ball. So we'll see if that's the case when you don't get pressure on Will Rogers. I think we don't have to scheme for their defense too much. I think we just play our game. Like, run Jonah Coleman, get Giles in space. I know we're going to talk about that. Just play your game. Like, don't take a ton of deep shots, but if they're open, go for them. You know what I mean? So that's my thought.
When I look at these stats real quick, Izzo, because these are money. I mean, the big thing I see is you can move the ball on them, and UW's been able to move the ball all year. I mean, that hasn't really been our issue, right? What has been our issue? Red zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's converting our red zone opportunities not into field goals but into touchdowns, and that'll be the big. I really think in the end that's going to be one of the biggest things. Is, like you said, cut down on our penalties. And can we convert in the red zone?
Yes.
Because if you look at this team, dude, they have not seen a quarterback like Will Rogers.
No,
they haven't. I mean, and once again, I'm not saying Will Rogers is, a first-round draft pick or anything along those lines, but I'm telling you, they have not seen a Howard, Akron, Virginia Tech, Drones. He can get up and move a little bit, but he can't throw the ball like Will Rogers. And the big thing, opponent's yard per pass at 4.7, number 10 in the country. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is a little bit of a misleading stat. Same with opponent completion, is because the quarterbacks that they've seen just don't have any sort of the success rate that you see from Will Rogers.
Well, and also they kind of play back and off, almost like Northwestern did. And if you're not a really accurate quarterback, it's hard to dink and dunk and hit those little ones. But that's where Will Rogers eats. That's where he does well. So I think you're correct on that. I think that stat might be a fugazi too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the biggest indicator is that they don't get pressure on the quarterback very much.
Yeah. Let's stick with this defense. Noah, tell me what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this defense, I mean, I'll say this, and I'll come back to our offense. When watching this Rutgers defense a little bit, I noticed the linebackers for Rutgers really struggle to go sideline to sideline. And if you talk about the defense of UW in the past, the defense this year, especially with our linebackers, we always have linebackers that can go sideline to sideline, and I think that is so important, especially in today's college football. But you kind of ask that question, well, like why? Why do they struggle? Rutgers lost their leader on defense in Mohamed Toure. I mean, he was a preseason like Buckus Award nominee, and he was their captain. I mean, you can tell. I mean,
NFL bound linebacker.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. When he went, that's where the team went. You know what I mean? So, They did just get Tyreen Powell back. He's coming off an Achilles injury, and he played 40-ish snaps or so against Virginia Tech. But you can even tell even a little bit there, man. You can see him, getting back just from that Achilles, kind of getting his motor going again. But the big thing with them, man, they got really exposed against Virginia Tech. 2 of the 3 touchdowns they put their wide receiver or running back in motion on the fly sweep. And I think that's something that we're going to have to do against them is that they can't run sideline to sideline. And Virginia Tech saw that obviously in film. And they continue to go back to the well, man, back to the well. So I really hope that we do that. I think that's where kind of you'll start to see some of the Giles Jackson stuff as we get into UW's offense and what we kind of expect. But those are some of the big things that I really like to see from UW in this game.
I got a question for you guys. Have you ever wanted to walk into Husky Stadium where there's 70,000 people and be the best looking person in the stadium? If you have, make sure you go to Simply Seattle, hit that QR code. Our good friends at Simply Seattle hooked us up and we look great. You see that QR code? Make sure you snap that, go check it out. Get all the Husky gear you want, plus Mariners, Sonics, Storm, all that stuff, everything at Simply Seattle.
While you're at it, be sure to check out the Dub Discord community with over 2,700 members. It's the largest organized chat room for all things Washington Husky athletics. You want insider access? Our VIP membership unlocks exclusive chat rooms and rumors you won't find anywhere else. Hit the QR code on the screen and join the conversation today. Go Dogs. Thank you for everything.
Take a look at how Washington's offense is going to, what we're going to have to do offensively to really take advantage of this defense. Noah, let's start with you in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing I want to see is early and often, man, run the rock. Like, run the rock, man. Rutgers allows 161 yards per game, which is 89th in the country. We're spitting a lot of stats at everybody. Remember, there's 133 FBS teams in the country. So when we're saying 110, 89th, whatever that may be, that's out of 133 FBS teams. On a per rush basis, it gets even worse. They allow 5.5 yards per carry, which is 119th in the country. This is a game where I want to see UW establish the run early and get Jonah Coleman 20 touches, man. Get him 20 touches. He is a running back that when he gets into a rhythm, he is absolutely dynamic. When he gets into a rhythm, you can see him start catching the ball out of the backfield. When he gets into the rhythm, he makes that one quick jump cut, and he's gone for 20, 30 yards on each play. I mean, he's that dynamic. But the other thing, too, is I talk a little bit about getting Jonah Coleman in space. I want to see just get our athletes in space in general. Rutgers as a unit, man, they just don't tackle very well. They graded out against Virginia Tech around 49 on the PFF rating, which is considered like a red when it comes to their ratings. And on the season, they're 89th in the country in tackling. So this is a game where you want to see UW run some outside zone, run the fly sweep like we talked about. And also, man, this is a game where it's time. It's time where Jed, he needs to get in his bag. He needs to use those mesh concepts that he's kind of known for. He needs to use those mesh concepts that we've seen his NFL teams run, saw his Arizona team run multiple times. You just haven't seen a ton of those. And frankly, they really haven't needed to run those. But Friday night, man, that's when it's time to open it up, Jed. Open up that bag of tricks. And I mentioned this before, finish drives. Get to the red zone.
That's the one right there.
And finish the drives, man. I'll kick it over to Izzo.
Yeah.
But man, that's just a couple basic things, man. Finish drives, please.
Yeah. Totally agree. Please, can we score on the first drive? I'm begging you. I don't care if it's a field goal. Get down and score, set the tone.
Set the tone, baby. Set the tone.
That play that kind of goes towards what you're saying. Get in your bag. The other thing too is that with a sack rate of 4.5% like this, and UW being the number 2 team in the country in completion percentage, number 1 is Oregon, unfortunately, check down squad. Get the ball out quick, and that also plays into what you're saying, which get it to Giles. Here's the bubble screen opportunity you've been waiting for. Here's the jet sweep opportunities. All of that. I don't think I have any more to add than that. It's really clear. Giles, Jonah, They should be your top players this game. I have a sneaking suspicion that we weren't using Giles much last week, literally for this game.
Ooh.
I'm telling you.
High level
It would
thoughts.
be the right call. You did not need to call upon him.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
What is
We'll
your
see.
prediction? What is your prediction, Izzo?
Oh, that's what I was just about to get into. I was just about to get into.
No. Sorry. Before we go, big boy predictions. I'm talking. Izzo, what is your thoughts? I mean, like 8 catches, $120. Like what when you say get him going? I mean, like how big a game do you think they really give him?
I think he should have the ball should be in Giles' hands 8 to 10 times and 8 to 12 times in this game, and Jonah should have like 20 carries in this game.
Let your playmakers play, baby.
Exactly. That's what you guys were asking for. You guys wanted 20 with Jonah. I think this is the game for that, and it will set you up in that for the Denzel deep shot. Like they haven't been tested like that, and if they're not going to get pressure, good luck.
I said this last week too, and I'll say it again about this secondary. This secondary can get got. There's no question.
Yep.
I mean, hey, when I see a good secondary, I won't jump on that bandwagon. But this is another secondary that you can get after, and this is another game where Hunter could have a big game in the red zone, and we just got to be able to take advantage of it. Use his skill set, man. Put that ball up in the air and let him go get it.
They're the meat squad, right? This is the Big Ten, right?
Mhm.
This is the game where we show, all right, West Coast football, if you want to call us that, we're going to get you with some finesse, some speed.
Now let's go to the big boy predictions. But give me some predictions on not just how the game's going to play out, but also final score. No, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Oh baby. As y'all see, I didn't put my number on our agenda because I'm pulling it out of the fly here. All right. This game is just so interesting to me because I really think, man, both coaches had that NFL mindset. They've both coached in the NFL, they've coached in college. They went back to the NFL, coached in college. I just think you're really going to see that back and forth like chess match. You're going to see that back and forth like I got you once, you got me. Where are those like little plays that are going to happen that are going to like really determine this game? This game's going to be ugly too. Rutgers will try to run the ball. I could see him running the ball 35 to 40 times. If we don't take them out, I said it earlier, if we don't take them out of that style, if we don't take them out of that run game, they will run the ball and they'll run it down our throats if we don't show something to stop it. If UW plays well, they can beat these guys though, and there's no question. But this game concerns me, man. Piscataway, New Jersey on a Friday night, a short week. And I'll be honest, man, UW hasn't had a full game. They haven't put a full game together yet. If they do, I think they win this game. I just haven't seen it yet, so I'm gonna go Rutgers 24, UW 20.
Oh boy,
ooh, that's the first that we're breaking ground here. That's the first dubbed up pick against UW since we started this.
Yeah.
All right, Izzo. Yeah, that's hard to follow, man. That's hard to follow.
I'm really worried about this game too. It doesn't play well to play them on a Friday on a short week flying to New York. I will say the body clock thing, the fact that we're playing them at night does kind of play well because we're going to be, I think the kickoff's at 8, right?
Yep.
8 Pacific, 5 o'clock.
Yep.
Or 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. I think that this game is going to come down to the little things. I really do think that could be the make or break thing is special teams and penalties, those little things. And they are disciplined, well-coached football team. Now, with that being said, I do think we get it right. I do think we make the adjustments. I did see us make progress from 16 penalties for 165 yards against Wazoo to going to way less than that, like half of that against Northwestern. I don't think it's going to be perfect. I don't think we then cut it in half again. I do think we commit penalties. I just can't pick against UW. I got 24-21 UW taking the W on a Grady Gross field goal to win it.
Ooh, I
Okay.
love
Ooh,
that.
I didn't
Yeah.
think that one.
Prove me wrong, baby. Prove
Yeah.
me
Please do.
wrong.
Please do. I
They're
guess
a physical team, and like, I mean, they're going to get us to commit penalties because they are so physical. There's gonna be somebody who wants to cheat a little bit and gets called for a hold, and it kills a drive. It's going to happen. So I don't see us like breaking out and taking advantage of every weakness on their defense and totally taking advantage of the fact that they don't put a ton of pressure on Will. But I still see us eking this out because I trust our coaching staff, because I think they've been holding back some stuff. And I think that we have the staff that will coach some discipline into the special teams blunders that we've seen the first 3-4 games so far.
Hey, if we win, expect Izzo to be absolutely dooging
It will
on
be
the
a Duke sesh.
timeline, baby. It'll be a sesh.
Twitter will be a fun world then.
It will be me saying outlandish shit on the timeline about how we're going to the Natty and get a CFP spot ready for us.
We're back, baby.
I definitely that's some of the funnest part about being a dog. I guess for me, I'm looking at us athlete for athlete, and I don't really see anywhere where they're way better than us. I think that they have some guys that are a little bit bigger and more experienced on the lines, but I don't think skill wise they're that much better anywhere. So if we commit less than 6 penalties, I could see us going there and surprising everybody and winning like 31-7. I could really see that happening, especially with our offense
Oh my God.
rolling.
We did that. I'd be freaking out. Block me now.
I could see that happening. I also could see us with a little bit of our struggles and it being like a 25-24 UW victory, because I do still think athlete for athlete, we're the better team. And they're also playing on a Friday night after a short week.
Yep.
All right.
Just don't be Wazoo 2.0.
Wait,
please.
what's your prediction though? What is your actual
Yeah,
prediction?
you got to
Give me
choose.
it. Don't you give me that.
Let's go 31-7, baby. Let's go 31-7, baby.
He's dirty.
Don't ever say I don't do as hard as anybody else.
Let's go, dude. I love it.
All right. All right. And is there anything else you guys want to get on before we get out of here?
No, I'm nervous. This is nervous energy.
Send Izzo some non-nervous energy, fellas.
I've said a lot of stuff on the timeline. We can't. Come on. My Twitter mentions are at stake.
Prove Uncle No wrong, baby. Prove me wrong, please.
All right. So before we get out of here, I just want to make sure you go hit the QR code, join the Discord, 2,700 strong. Everybody doing as hard as we do. Also, if you pay a little bit of money and get that VIP membership, all that recruiting information you guys wanted been asking us for, that's where it is. I'm telling you right now, that's where it is. So for Izzo, for Noah, I'm Mike Flaunt, and this is the Dub Podcast. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs, baby.
Piscataway.
Give me a W, please. God.
Oh. Go Dogs.
Good shit. Good shit.
That was very fun.